10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Hello and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is July 3rd and we've got a whole lot of exciting things to cover in today's episode. So the first of which is these new votes that have come up to the pDAO and the oDAO that we're going to have a look at. So there's 3 votes that have come up. There's the oDAO charter and then oDAO charter again, and then the inflation and pDAO budget allocation. So there are 4 different RPIPs that are being voted on here, and amendments. There's RPIP 23, RPIP 24, RPIP 25, which then amends RPIP 10. So let's start with this one first. Okay, where did it go? It went right here. Okay, so we have the pDAO charter, RPIP 23. It says this vote is interlinked with the oDAO charter and inflation and pDAO budget allocation votes. If any of the 3 fail, all will be considered failed and none will take effect. The pDAO charter establishes what the pDAO is and what its values are. I don't think it can be summarized further than the RPIP, so please read the RPIP. Read the RPIP, full RPIP here. So there's the RPIP, you can read that, it's on GitHub. Maybe I can show my screen like this, and then yeah, you can read the whole information here. It says, what the values are, like the pDAO shall serve the Rocket Pool community at large. This compromises rETH holders, node operators, RPL holders. The pDAO shall be defined as node operators with power based on effectively staked RPL. The pDAO shall actively govern the protocol in the interest of the Rocket Pool community at large. pDAO members should either be informed and engaged in public discourse about governance or delegate their voting power to someone that is informed and engaged. The pDAO shall prioritize protocol safety. The pDAO should prioritize the health of the Ethereum network. The pDAO should prioritize decentralization, and the pDAO should prioritize permissionlessness. Going back to this point number 4 here, the pDAO members should either be informed and engaging in public discourse about governance or delegate their voting power to someone that is informed. You're more than welcome to delegate your voting power to me as I vote on all of these, and I try to stay as informed as possible on everything that's happening here. So I have already voted, others have voted as well. So there are 2,000 votes that are in favor of this pDAO charter that you can see over here. So yeah, there's a whole lot of votes. Everyone 100% have voted for this. The quorum is 5,600 votes, and we have received 2,000 votes. So that is going well. Let's have a look at the next vote over here. So this is for the oDAO charter. It says this vote is interlinked, just like the others are. If this fails, all 3 will fail. So it says this snapshot will be voted on by the oDAO, not by the pDAO. So those are members of the Oracle DAO who will be voting on this. And it goes on to say, actually, let me go back to the screen. I thought that's a better screen, actually. Yeah. It says that this snapshot will be voted on by the oDAO, not the pDAO. The oDAO charter establishes what the oDAO is, what its values are, how it will function, and what its responsibilities are. I don't think it can be summarized further than the RPIP, so please read the RPIP. And it says oDAO members will vote using Rocket Pool node send message from their oDAO node and sending message to, and then there's address 0x0DA and then whole lots of zeros. The data of the message should be UTF/8 encoded and say seat name, votes, for, against, abstain on RPIP 24. If there's more than one vote from a seat, the last vote in the vote window will be counted. In order for this vote to pass, at least 51% must vote for, 10 votes. Anyone will be able to trivially verify the votes on Etherscan based on the signing address and the data interpreted as UTF-8. pDAO members may or may not use the for, against, abstain buttons here to signal. This is purely a signal. pDAO votes and quorum will not impact the results in any way. Please read the full RPIP here. You can read the forum discussion around this in the forum thread, and then here are the different addresses of the oDAO members, so you can look at all of those and see who has or hasn't voted. The PDAO, of course, has been voting for this as it's fun to do. It doesn't mean anything, of course. So here we have 1,700 votes for, 60 votes abstaining, and of course, it doesn't make a difference if this reaches a quorum or not. We just need 10 votes from those addresses about this. So that's the PDAO, the oDAO charter. So those are two actually, let's have a look at the charter really quickly. So let's read the RPIP here and go and have a look. So it says that this is the oDAO charter. This is broad agreement that the oDAO needs to be more clearly defined in terms of what they're expected to do and how they're expected to do it. This document is intended to be a foundational definition document that will serve the oDAO itself in answering what's the right thing to do in a given situation. In a given situation, and the greater community and be the greater community in understanding what should we expect and what shouldn't we expect from the oDAO in this membership. So here there's a whole bunch of the values. There's 9 of them about what the values will be, and this includes things like the oDAO shall serve the rocket pool community at large, which comprises of rETH holders, node operators, and RPL holders, by upholding the values and responsibilities outlined in this charter. And there's a whole bunch of values over here, and then it also talks about what their responsibilities are and how that works. And then this is updating this RPIP. This is a living RPIP, so it can be kept up to date with changes to duties. However, the values section shall not be updated. The RPIP as a whole may be superseded with 2/3 or greater supermajority oDAO vote. The following process shall be followed for the responsibility section of the RPIP. And here it says about how that will happen. So you can read through that RPIP 24 to get that information. Now let's have a look at RPIP 25. And this one has already had 1,900 votes for, and 100% are in favor. And it's it says if this fails, all of them fail, the inflation changes. So this one is the RPIP that will change the inflation that is going out to the oDAO. And this information here, it says this vote will immediately reduce the oDAO's share of inflation from the protocol from 15% it gets now to 8%, and then it will further reduce the oDAO share to 1.5% over the next about 1 year. So I guess there'll be 0.5% reduction every month over the next 12 months. Something like that, I guess. Or 13 rewards periods, actually. There's 13 rewards periods, 6.5% difference. So every rewards period, the oDAO share will go down 0.5% as inflation, and bring its way down to 1.5% of inflation instead of 15% of inflation. So that's a 90% pay reduction over the course of a year. Well, of course, not a pay reduction in terms of dollars necessarily, but in terms of RPL tokens, because if the RPL token appreciates in price 10x, then they'll still be making the same amount of money as they make now. Okay, and then it says node operator share is held at 70%, so the PDAO share increases as the oDAO share decreases. So this is really cool because the PDAO, of course, that is made up of 3 parts. There's made up of the incentive management committee, and their prime goal is to provide liquidity for rETH. And minimize slippage at 1% or 2%. They have a metric that they use. That's their prime focus, but they have other focuses as well. Of course, for the GMC, it's grants, bounties, and retroactive awards. And then there's a percentage of the oDAO's PDAO's money, that goes towards a fund. So that's good that the share will be increasing, and says the budget changes allow for the PDAO to directly spend funds, execute a direct expenditure to fund 3 months of development. This is interim funding. We likely want to fund longer based on the roadmap, but that can be a separate vote, and modify the management committee's budget splits so that our total budget is similar to current levels when the PDAO share of inflation increases, just the initial large step. And then there's a full RPIP that you can read there, and I'm not going to click on that. And then this has already been voted on by a bunch of community members as well. And like I said, there's 1,900 votes, all 100% in favor of this, with the quorum of 5,600 votes needed. So that's some really good information. Please familiarize yourself with these RPIPs and vote according to that if you are in favor, if you are against, or if you abstain. If you do not want to learn about these things and vote, then please delegate your vote to someone else. There's some amazing community members who will vote every election, every vote, sorry. So consider delegating your votes to them. Okay, moving back to the Discord here, we had this update from Dave a few months ago where he said that we are it says to add to our team expansion, we're looking to bring on board another new member in 6 weeks' time as ecosystem lead to capitalize on the success and new dramatic capacity for Rocket Pool. Their role will be to seek out, expand, monitor, and engage with all relationships ecosystem-wide to help drive growth and maintain dedicated relationships. They'll also help Mav out with the occasional shui. More details on this Top Gun to come. So, someone realized that this post, well, actually, there's not someone, it's not you, realized that this post was, it's been over 6 weeks. That Thursday was 6 weeks. So, not you, being Monday, messaged in trading saying, is it today? And then Maverick put an emoji of a yes with a Pepe sign. So, it seems like the person has been hired. There's a whole lot of speculation about who the person is. I don't think it's someone that we know from the community, but there's a lot of excitement about it, about who that person is. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of discussion about who it might be, and that's all really exciting. In today's community call, that is right here. There was a whole bunch of talk about who it was by Langers, saying that this person will be mostly doing business development work and working with other teams, protocols, trying to build relationships, and the formal announcement should go out overnight, I guess on Business Day Tuesday on Australia instead of on Monday. So I think they're just waiting for the person to settle, and then they will be putting out that vote. So hopefully tomorrow we will have information about who that person is and what they're going to be doing and how it's all going to be working. So that is really exciting to see as well. And I'm really curious to see who the person is and how they're going to settle into our community. The last hire, of course, was Mav, and I think Mav has been amazing, settling into the community and doing some really, really good work. And he's been a fantastic hire, and huge shout out to Mav. But I'm curious to see how the next person is going to be. Okay, next we have some really nice updates that have come out, some milestones that we can see here. One of them is that we now have 3,000 nodes on Rocket Pool. This is really great news. It's a huge landmark that we've hit, and we are now one of the biggest. Like if Rocket Pool was an alternative layer 1, I think we would now be the third or fourth biggest in terms of node operators, behind Bitcoin, Ethereum. I think Zcash and Litecoin, I think, have more nodes, and they're the only ones that do. We've overtaken everyone else, and I think we're fairly close to Litecoin as well, as far as I remember. But this is a huge achievement. It's taken us just over a year and a half to get here, and growth has really grown since Shanghai and Atlas, and I think that you will be hitting 4,000 node operators by the end of the year. That may be slightly optimistic, but I think it's definitely possible. Let's have a look over here and see what RocketScan is saying. So, of course, with RocketScan, there's this other landmark that we hit as well, which was 8 million RPL is effectively staked, which is a huge milestone as well. So that's about 45% of all RPL is now staked effectively, and that's nearly 9 million is staked, but above 150% collateralization. And as the ratio moves up and down, then those people can the total effective staked changes as well. So just because it's over 8 million now doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily stay over 8 million. As the ratio goes up, it's likely that the effective staked will go down, and as the ratio goes down, maybe it'll go up or maybe it'll stay the same because people are moving in and out of positions. But what I wanted to talk about here was this section with nodes, and what we can see here is that every month, we're getting a couple of hundred new node operators. So in April we got 255, in May we got nearly 300, in June we got 192. So over the next 6 months, as long as we average about 170, we should end up with 4,000 node operators. I think we might struggle to actually get to 4,000. Maybe we'll get to 37 or 3,800, but that in itself will be a huge milestone as well. So we're growing beautifully. Node operator count is 100 times bigger than what Lido have as their node operator count, and that is really phenomenal in terms of growth for Rocket Pool. So we're just hitting these milestones over and over again. It'd be really, really great to see some more RPL effectively staked. Maybe hopefully by the end of the year, if we can get above 10 million, that would be really fantastic. And hopefully that comes from new node operators buying. But we will wait and see how that goes. But at the moment, this growth is looking really good. Okay, so next we have this update from Jasper. So this kind of links into the vote that we talked about earlier, the one that changes the inflation. And it says, Jasper here says, things are changing at Rocket Pool. The pDAO is set to get millions in additional funding, but what should we do with it? Here's my 2-part proposal to turbocharge growth. He says, 1, deep RPL liquidity and Oracle, and 2, cross-chain rETH incentives, a thread. So there's 12 tweets to this thread, and you can have a look. He said, I just posted to the forum more detailed community sentiment check through the Rocket Pool forum. I encourage you to read and share your opinion on this proposal after the thread. It says justification for removing oDAO inflation to the IMC. Now we'll click on that. We'll come back to it later. But until then, Jasper says I have proposed 2 new RPIPs. One is movement of 25% of new funds to the IMC for the incentivizing of RPL ETH and or RPL rETH liquidity, and a movement of 25% of new funds to the IMC for a proper funding of cross-chain rETH liquidity expansion. Let's break these down. So the first one, he says this is RPIP 1, which won't be RPIP 1, but Operation Make RPL Liquid Again. This RPIP will change the current 10% cap on RPL incentives for RPL ETH liquidity to 50% and direct 25% of new funds towards the IMC for this cause. Right now, RPL is badly illiquid. Let's talk about why that's an issue. So this was a chart from a few days ago where there's a whole lot of buy side pressure, but the sell side is really weak. So it caused the price to move down really quickly. 300 or 400 RPL sell would move the price down more than 25%. In fact, even more than that. And on the buy side, there's literally, to move the same amount, you need 2,500 ETH worth of buying to do the same thing. So it was really liquid. And then Jasper says, the Uniswap version 3 chart below shows RPL liquidity depth has fallen sharply from higher ratios. So it seems like, most of the people have set their liquidity at higher ranges and the price has fallen from there. And he says, historically, RPL liquidity has been handled by a few benevolent whales like Patricio Warthalter, Marceau, and Thomas G. But this has proven unreliable. And it's not their fault, it's unreliable because as the RPL price moves up and down out of those liquidity bounds, there's more or less liquidity at those places. And then Jasper says, ensuring a more liquid RPL markets and introducing a Chainlink Oracle will make a Rocket Pool node operation much more viable. With an Oracle, we could see novel strategies that allow node operators to hedge their RPL exposure or potentially borrow RPL against rETH to run nodes. Now, this is in reference to the Arbitrum vote that has passed on Aave vote that has passed on the Aave side, and that is why Mark Zeller is tagged in this image, because basically what they would do is you will take 10.4 ETH worth of rETH to Aave. You will deposit that. In return, you will get 8 ETH and 2.4 ETH of RPL. Then you will stake those amounts, and after you run that node for however long you want, then you will go and return the ETH and RPL and get your rETH back. So that would be a great way for people to not having the exposure to RPL but still run Rocket Pool nodes. And I think that's a really cool tool, but we can't do that unless we get a Chainlink Oracle. And Chainlink won't give us an Oracle unless we have way more liquidity than we do, or we pay for it. So here Jasper says, imagine if Rocket Pool, the RPL token was 4 times as liquid, we could see nodes move in and out much easier, which de-risks node operation, makes the rETH supply easier to grow, contract, and keeps the protocol sustainable. And here it says, can't sell 69 RPL, no Chainlink Oracle, BTFO, and then later it says liquid RPL, reduced volatility, not enriching oDAO, larger node operators. And then Jasper says increasing the active liquidity by nearly 4x would be feasible with these changes. This would be the first source of yield on RPL outside of node operation. So that would drive demand for RPL purchasing as well. And we've seen that happen with rETH, like as incentives have gone live, we've seen huge spikes in people minting rETH to farm those rewards, and I expect the exact same thing would happen here with RPL as well. Is as we start putting incentives live for RPL, then people will buy RPL to farm those incentives. And then Jasper says the Rocket Pool protocol has a vested interest in ensuring liquid RPL markets. Let's start paying for it. Next, Jasper says proposed RPIP2, of course it won't be RPIP2, intergalactic rETH empire building. The future is on layer 2s, the future is now. In order to best enable people to stake on the most decentralized staking platform Ethereum has to offer, we must make it also the cheapest staking platform. L2 is the way to do this. This RPIP would move 25% of new funds to the IMC for proper funding of a cross-chain rETH liquidity expansion. rETH has already made progress on layer 2s, mainly with generous donations for incentives. Now Rocket Pool must invest in its future. So he goes on to say, by increasing the budget, we can have more partners on longer timeframes and create sustainable liquidity for rETH everywhere, not just on layer 1. More liquidity on layer 2s also means more layer 2 DeFi integrations for rETH. These in turn drive up demand and bring in more to stake. So exactly the same dynamics will be at play, is as you make it more lucrative to own rETH, then more people will want to own rETH in return, and that could potentially drive 100, 200, 300,000 rETH worth of demand into Rocket Pool. Maybe it might be closer to 100 or 200 than 300, but that is still incredible. Like, it's really amazing that that could happen. And Jasper here finishes with, he's saying, the Rocket Pool community has an opportunity to enter a new era of growth. I urge Rocket Pool holders to support moving at least 50% of the previous oDAO funds to the Incentive Management Committee so that we can make RPL liquid for all and enable rETH to flourish on layer 2. So people here saying, big agree, especially for more Arbitrum expansion. When is this up for a snapshot vote? So then there's a process, right? The governance process goes like this. You make a forum post that we're going to have a look at next. In the forum post, you have a snapshot, like a sentiment check. The sentiment check will then allow you to go to the RPIP stage. Then the RPIP drafts will be commented on and finalized. And then once the RPIP is finalized and edited and all cleaned up and everything, then that will be put to a snapshot vote. And those take 2 weeks. So the best timeline for this will probably be about 4 to 6 weeks. The forum is already up. We're going to have a look at that next. And yeah, it's going to be really cool to see how that goes. I think I'm strongly in favor of this, because I think liquidity begets protocol growth, and that's hugely important for where we are right now. So I'm going to look at it a lot more closely, but right now I'm definitely in support of this. Here, Mage Style says a good liquid strategy needs to promote also RPL stable pairs. This is beneficial to all liquidity providers and can be done super efficiently on venues like MAP protocol. So I think that this is something that we are going to be talking about in tomorrow's episode, because Jasper says that Birdie tells me some rETH and GRI incentives will be going live soon. Mavis cool multi-platform liquidity would be ideal for resiliency. And then Alex DeFi says, why doesn't the DAO that already spends on bribes every fortnight buy and lock Aura with it so you can unlock Aura with it so you don't have to bribe every week? This helps close the gap versus FRX ETH, Frax ETH, who do that with their CurveX CVX, I think that's curve tokens. And then Jasper says buying liquidity tokens is something that we consider. We don't believe it's the most cost-effective route currently. Building POL is one of our subsidiary goals, but we are doing that through direct rETH and ETH liquidity pairs. And there is also the hanging question of what DEX will be best in 2 years on, because you have to have it for a long time for it to be worth your while, and that can change really quickly. Like Maverick protocol has come up so quickly, and in the last 6 weeks or 2 months, it's really massively grown, and that could not have been predicted 3 months ago. So yeah, I think this is really cool. Now let's have a look at what's being said on the forum over here. So Jasper says justification for moving oDAO inflation to the IMC, and then that kind of covers a whole lot of what was said about in the tweet thread, but with just a bit more information. And then let's have a look at some of the comments that we have here. So here's where the comment starts, and Jasper says, would you vote to no of 100% of oDAO funds? Ethereum Bull here was one of the people who was giving the most pullback, I guess. He was saying, or they were saying, I would prefer some or all of the oDAO tokens to be burned. I would not negatively impact the current tokenomics of Rocket Pool, because node operators will still have access to the same amount of reward. The only difference I can see is dumping that inflation onto the market using the oDAO, or as proposed, dumping onto the market using the pDAO. I don't think tokens should be minted just to be sold. They should be earned through supporting the network. So let's have a look at what other people are saying. Noshua says that IMC is using RPL tokens to reward liquidity providers. These are certainly supporting the network, and they are free to use their rewards however they want, just like node operators are able to sell in the RPL tokens that they earn. And then Noshua gives a more direct reply to Jasper. He says, I have a problem with these numbers. Right now, at least 6.75% of inflation are used for rETH incentives. After this proposed change, this would go down to 5.5% and would have to cover the cross-chain aspect as well. And the Ethereum Bull says, the node operators aren't receiving a portion of the tokens previously distributed to the oDAO. We may as well let the oDAO keep their share if the only use case we can come up with is making those tokens available to buy and flooding the market with more liquidity. And then Patches says, this feels like oversimplification. There are more parties involved than just the oDAO and node operators. Inflation changes have to take into account the holders of staked RPL, holders of unstaked RPL, liquidity positions, pDAO treasury, and oDAO seats. Between these parties, inflation is zero sum. If by burning you mean simply reducing the overall inflation, since it makes no sense to mint something and then immediately burn it, that would essentially be arguing that the holders are being overburdened by inflation, saying that it doesn't matter who dumps the inflation, the oDAO or the pDAO through its various committees misses the point of inflation in the first place. It's a soft tax on speculators that helps build a protocol by incentivizing liquidity, paying for development, attracting new node operators. Is your argument that increasing node operator share from 70% to 83% more effective for the growth of the protocol than using the funds for additional liquidity and development? Is your argument that reducing overall inflation, burning by the full amount, 5% inflation becomes 4.35%, the most healthy for the protocol? And whichever of these it is, why? Pieter then came in and said, the general direction of this proposal looks good to me. Bolstering RPL liquidity and cross-chain rETH liquidity are both worthy goals. The numbers do seem a little RPL heavy though, especially bringing the RPL ETH incentive cap up to 50% means RPL liquidity becomes an equivalent goal to rETH liquidity. I think rETH liquidity should still be the primary focus, the core protocol product. Some additional questions, remarks on the proposed protocol-owned RPL ETH liquidity. Why choose fully protocol-owned liquidity here instead of incentives bribes, as has been our approach with rETH? Full range liquidity is less capital efficient than actively managed liquidity ranges like Uniswap version 3. As you mentioned, maybe we should consider partial ranges around current price, as well as a portion of capital. Downside is of course risk going outside a range and requiring more active management by the IMC. It's not clear to me how relevant the comparison is to the size of Lido's LDO, WST ETH incentives and active liquidity. Shouldn't this be around the liquidity required for our own goals, a more smooth, stable node operator experience, and around obtaining and selling RPL? Or do you reckon more liquidity is always better to that end? So I haven't replied here yet because I've kind of been letting the thoughts germinate in my mind for these last few days since the post was made, I think on Friday. Since that time, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I really like this idea. Like, definitely love this idea from Jasper. First of all, like, I think that the IMC's remit, first of all, the budget should be increased massively, which is already happening with the vote. And then as the budget is increased, we should be thinking of novel ways of incentivizing liquidity. Liquidity, like, is crucial to the lifeblood of a protocol, and having confidence in the price of a token not moving too much when you need to move in and out of it is a huge bonus for people who might need to acquire RPL for one reason or another, whether they're using that for staking, whether they're using that for liquidity providing, whatever it might be. I need to think about it a little bit more, but I think what I'd be happy with is 33% of the inflation. Well, let me think about it more before I write in the forum. But this is something that I'm super excited about and super supportive of. So definitely happy with this proposal from Jasper. Like some of the members have said, maybe some slight tweaks into what exactly the numbers will be and how it will all work out, I think will be a really good step to take here. Okay, next. Oh, we already have that. Okay, so moving on. Just talking about liquidity, one of the things that was looking really bad over the weekend was the lack of buy side liquidity compared to the sell side liquidity, and this was looking really bad. But some anonymous whale has added a whole chunk of liquidity between, like, they deposited ETH with the idea that they would buy RPL if the price went down between 0.0155, I think, and 0.02, somewhere around that range. They added a big chunk of liquidity, and this really gave confidence to the markets because there was a whole lot of panic in the community, and a lot of people were really scared that it looked like, the sell, it was just sell only. One of the things that happened was, those of us who pay attention to the bot channel, we see that what we see is that like, we just saw, day after day, sell after sell of notifications here on the ping channel. And I mentioned to Vaka last week, I think, that, is the bot okay? And he said the bot was fine. And then I said to Vaka again, like I said, the sell side bot works, but the buy side one isn't working. Vaka, why don't you buy $50,000 of RPL and see if it works? And Vaka then realized that it might actually be a bug, because there was some buys that were actually there that weren't showing up, and then there were still sells. And what happened then is that he fixed the bot and turned it on, and what we saw was all the buys from the last week that the bot should have caught, missed all of them, and there was a whole lot of like big buys that were completely missed, some more than $100,000, and there was like a whole bunch of those buys that were right there. So that basically was like one full weeks of like psychological attack on the community, where we were only seeing sells happening and not seeing any buying happening. And because of that, the price really got hit hard. Like, if we have a look at the Binance pair and see what's going on over here, you can see, I'll look on like the hourly chart, that it was just literally down only for like, well, let's look at the 4-hour chart. So basically the bot stopped working somewhere around here, I think, around the 24th or the 25th, which is when I mentioned it to Vaka about the bots working properly. So basically since then it was just down, and people were not seeing any buying at all. And then like this got really bad here, where it went down to like $35.62, and around that point there, maybe just a little bit after it, is when the bot was fixed and people started seeing the buys again, and the prices improved rapidly since then. I don't think it's a coincidence that has happened. Like, as people saw more and more sells coming through, and then they saw the thin liquidity on the sell side, they were selling more to kind of get ahead of that, and then they weren't seeing the buys that were kind of like propping up the price around that 0.02 price point, and they were just selling, and it was kind of unrelenting, and it went on for pretty much a week, and then there was a week of red, and then we started seeing a whole lot of green coming through, like large buys, and people realized that it was just a mistake, and now we currently stand at above 0.02 on the ratio, 0.02004035 and $39.12. So the price has taken a hit. The ratio, of course, has taken a hit, but thankfully, I think we've stemmed the bleeding now, literally and figuratively, and there's hopefully going to be a lot more green in the days to come. But that, I think, definitely had like a psychological impact on the community. Okay, so on Friday's episode, I talked about how there was, solo staking whale who was migrating, like not a whale, like a octopus or a shark who was migrating, and they, with their migration was allowing like so many hundreds more of ETH to be rETH to be minted. Well, what happened is that person made a mistake with setting up their withdrawal credentials, and they got scrubbed. So here, on the overnight on the 7th, in the morning of the 7th, the oDAO members figured out that there was a mistake with that person, and they scrubbed their validators. So all their mini pools got scrubbed, and it was kind of sad to see that, right? Because the person was able to lift like so many mini pools, but all that got hit. So just as one person, oh yeah, okay, actually not that. So here we actually, let me move that along. Oh no, this is fine. Yeah, okay. So here we had plain old SNG saying the really interesting post here about tax and taxation, saying, I recently summarized my thoughts to someone over DM. We'll leave them unnamed for privacy. I can copy past them my messages to them here if it's helpful. Full disclaimer, I am not a lawyer nor an accountant, and I strongly advise working directly with a tax attorney and or a CPA for your own personal situation. That said, incoming message dump. So he says, now let's dive in a bit. So basically what this post is about is how you should just set up your node as a business, or whether it should be as a business or as a formal business, or whether it should just be like work that you do on your taxes. And this is mostly like in relation to the US, and whether that should be then self-employment or as a hobby. And it goes through Sneaky's messages here go through all the different scenarios of how you would pay tax depending on how you arrange your tax profile, and how you set up your income, whether it's a Schedule C or a Schedule 1, hobby or self-employment, or whether you do it through a business and what kind of business that is, whether it's an LLC or whether it's a S-Corp. So there's a whole lot of information in this post. There's really, really good detail, and it got really good feedback. So definitely dig into this if you are all curious about how you should set up your node for income, and what you will be getting out of that. So definitely read through all this. There's a whole lot of detail that I don't really have time to go through right now, but it's really valuable for you to actually spend a few minutes and reading through this and kind of understanding it. And if you have any questions, like the guys in the tax thread are really, really helpful to answer them. So Sneaky again at the end of it says, for completeness, I'll end this once again saying I'm not a lawyer or an accountant. Information is solely based on my own experiences, and I'd strongly advise deferring to professionals for legal and or financial advice. So, like Java Lays is here saying that's a really awesome write-up, etc. People give really good feedback here. So if you are all curious about how you should set up your staking income as taxable events, then read this thread from Sneaky, read this series of posts from Sneaky. It's linked in the description below. Okay, next we have a couple of ways that you can get information about what is happening with price projections. One of them here, Adam Horowitz. Adam, long-time supporter of Rocket Fuel. So, hi Adam. Here it says, happy Q3. I made a simple calculator for those who want to calculate their quarterly increase in rETH, Rocket Pool value compared to ETH. Thank you, RocketScan and Valdorf for the helpful dashboards. So let's have a look at the document that Adam created. So here we see that it is like a really simple sheet, and it just has what the value was at the beginning of the quarter, what the value was at the end of the quarter, what the percentile change was, and what the APY is. So you can kind of like tweak this around and see where your numbers stand, and figure out how that is working for you if you want to pay, if you're selling, and if you want to pay taxes on that. So that was a really nice tool from Adam. So thank you, Adam, for that. And next we had this post on Reddit from Klutzy Finance, who says this is based on Yogo Fubi's excellent calculator a few weeks ago. I was interested in underlying yield versus RPL exposure, and then basically he tweaked the tables, and he says have a look and tell me if I'm missing anything. Then there's a link to the Google Doc, and he says there are 3 modes of operation, and then there's 0 ETH node, 1 is 16 ETH mini pool, and 2 8 ETH mini pool. He says when running an ETH node, MEV boost is not enabled, so we create the most conservative yield. Also, user has 32 ETH to play with and a little more to buy RPL when needed. My findings are as follows, all represented in ETH. With a single ETH node, a single validator, so you have 32 ETH staking, no additional ETH needed to run a pool. RPL exposure is 0, the yield is lowest at 3.5%. It says with 2 16 ETH mini pools, investing the minimum of RPL, so that's 3.2 ETH of it. So it says 2 validators, 3.2 additional ETH to run the mini pools, 9.9% of your investment is exposed to RPL, an additional 0.25 ETH equivalent RPL in rewards if RPL bond stays above 10%, an additional 0.18 ETH from the smoothing pool, and 5.4% return, and drops to 4.34% if your RPL bond stays below 10% the whole time. So it's still way better than solo staking. And it says if RPL ETH drops by more than 48% from when you purchase it, you lose all the ETH gained for the year. And it says if RPL increases by 48%, the yield increases to 9.4%. So it really does well. It says with 8 ETH mini pools, investing the minimum amount of RPL, you get 4 validators and then 9.6 additional ETH to run the mini pools. 23% of your investment is exposed to RPL, an additional 0.75 ETH equivalent RPL in rewards if the bond stays above 10%. And then it says the total, you get a 6.5% return, but it drops to 4.7% if the RPL bond is less than 10%. And it says if RPL drops by more than 20%, you lose all the ETH gained for the year. And if the RPL ETH increases by 20%, your yield increases to 11.1%. He says, my takeaway is that all else being equal, if you have more conservative investment, solo staking may be the better way to go. However, if you believe in a rocket pool and can handle the swings, better to go with 8 ETH mini pools. 16 ETH mini pools are a good compromise. Also, timing the purchase of RPL helps. Right now, RPL ETH is below 0.2, he means 0.02, which is a lot better than the 0.03 it was a month ago. If you started your 8 ETH mini pool in May 2023, your annual gains in ETH are offset by your losses in RPL, no returns for a year. Let's hope the RPL ETH recovers. So that was a nice update, and we can have a quick look at what the sheet looks like now. So you can make a copy of this and tweak the numbers and see what it works like for your situation. But that's some really good content there. So thank you so much to Klutzy Finance 7645 for putting that together. And on that note, I'm going to end today's Rocket Fuel. I hope you all had a lovely weekend. And oh no, wait, actually, I was supposed to do the raffle today, and I've missed some stuff here. Oh, okay, just give me 1 minute. Let me get that stuff ready. I thought I was ending the episode, but I'm not ending the episode. Yeah, here we go. So something really great happened over the weekend where we got a new node operator. So the first thing that they started off doing was staking 69,420 RPL, which was worth 1,312 ETH, which of course is the most amazing meme number there is. Marceau then sent out a tweet saying that this person was a friend of theirs. He says a friend just made a big splash with 261 rocket pool mini pools at max collateral, smart money. And then Jasper says that's a whale, that's a huge amount of our ETH supply growth. So of course with that they bring 750 ETH worth of rETH growth, which is totally lovely to see. And then when you have a look at the node operator, so they're in Europe, Belfast, 261 mini pools, total value locked is 3,481 ETH. They have set up all the mini pools. They're waiting in the queues, and that's looking really, really wonderful. So this is a person who Marceau knows, and he's kind of talking about how they are still staking, right? Like this is still what's happening, and people haven't stopped. They're still believing. They're still staking 150%, and that is absolutely amazing to see. Okay, and then next we have this post from Marceau again. So two Marceau posts in a row. He's saying, hello everyone, just a friendly reminder to stay vigilant on token approvals and phishing scams. I just had a moderately sophisticated and highly targeted attempt at me. I'm totally fine, but wanted to share some info in case they target other RPL peeps. It came from a person who identified themselves as part of NFTtrader.io team who were looking to deploy mini pools for their treasury. They wanted to do an over-counter buy of RPL and sent me a fake airswap site. Airswap is a site that lets people exchange tokens in the peer-to-peer way. So you set up a transaction, both people get the URL, and then they both execute it on their sides and the transfer happens. But there was airswap.limo. I guess that was the wrong website. And he says that immediately asked for a token approval, which would have swept my address. Stay safe. Always make sure to triple check inbound stuff like DMs and new contract approvals. So here, look, this person, Bruxer, said, awesome, thank you for over the counter selling. And then there's a link to the website, which was not the correct website. It's not the correct airswap website. And that had malicious approvals that would have stolen all of Marceau's ETH that was on that wallet, which I think, would have been enough to do serious damage to the rocket pool price, because this was before, that liquidity was added on the RPL side. But even that, I don't think would have been able to hold the price up with this. So I'm glad that Marceau is okay with this, and that, it's not too bad, but that is definitely like really scary, right? Like that you can come so close to approving something that could drain all your money. So please be careful of how you interact with contracts and the work that you do with these, because it is really scary, and a whole lot of people have lost everything. Okay, next we have this update from Stader, and Stader here are saying that they are ready to launch their mainnet. This is it's time, get ready to power up your ETH with ETHX. The date is set 10th of July 2023. See you on mainnet. So the wait is over. There's just like a week left now to launch for Stader, and Stader, of course, will be working on a rocket pool style ETH plus token a collateral, and then there'll be the ETHX instead of rETH. So it's a similar model to what Rocket Pool is doing. I really wish them the best of luck. I hope that they really lean into the decentralization aspects of their protocol, and I hope that if they do that, they get a whole lot of growth, and I think that will be really good for everyone involved, and I really hope that they can do that. So good luck to Stader for that, and I'm really curious to see how things go for them. Okay, so next we have the Rocket Fuel monthly raffle. I totally don't know how I got this mixed up, but I'm going to do it a little bit on the fly. So stay with me if there are any problems. I'm really sorry about this. So first of all, I am going to go to get my board. Okay, and this has been updated, as I've been told, by Cheers. So, we had Mambo-san with 38, Sneaky Ninja with 31, all the way down to there being 43 people this month who in June who provided submissions. So thank you so much for those people. Like, without you, I would not have been able to without you, I would not have been able to, have rocket fuel going out every day. So thank you. Your work is invaluable. It's truly appreciated, and it's amazing. So here, the tickets were made for me. So we will choose Mambo, and then Sneaky, Cheers, Shifrin, Jasper, Not You, Chaos, Dando, Patches, a whole lot of people. In total, there are 214 tickets this time. So I'm going to copy those, and I'm going to take them to random.org. And then over here, I go to list randomizer, and then I enter let me actually go to this. There you go. So I'm going to enter the names of the people. Let me see if that looks right. Yep, Mambo, and then Sneaky, Cheers, Shifrin, Jasper, Not You, Chaos, Dando, and then everyone else. I'm just going to swipe through the whole thing if anyone wants to check it later. And now I'm going to press randomize, and the top 10 people on this list will get $100 each. So let me go and do this. Randomize. So Mambo came first and second, so Mambo gets 100. And then Vaka, and then Not You, Dukey, Shifrin, Rocket Doc, and then there's Mambo again. So let's skip Mambo. So that's 6. Not You again. Jasper is 7. Cheers is 8. Cal is 9. Cal, congratulations on winning. And then Sneaky is number 10. And I think that is right. But I'll clean that up later and reach out to everyone who's going to win the prize. But I'm so happy that Cal has won the prize, because he's been complaining about it for quite a while, and Shifrin won as well, so they have a little rivalry between them about who's going to win. So the fact that they both won is really nice. Congratulations to the winners. I'll be in touch with you soon about those prizes. And finally, we are going to talk about We're So Back. So of course, I talked about how there was a whole lot of red, there was a whole lot of negative sentiment because the bot was broken. Well, the bot got fixed and things started working, and we're so back. So Jasper started this thread, and people are like, we're back. LFG, we're so back. And I have back pain, we're so back. And good morning, we are going to make it up only, we're so back. So the sentiment shifts like really quickly. I know that we're still at 0.02, and that's not quite where we were settled for what seems like a few months at like 0.026. I hope that we get that 30% pump. That would be really nice. But I feel like we've stabilized. Of course, anything can happen. We've all been around the block enough to know that things can move up or down before you know it. However, it seems like sentiment is better in the community. It seems like people think that price has stabilized, and hopefully will be moving up now instead of moving down more, because those few weeks they were quite brutal. Anyway, this episode has gone really long, so thank you all for watching, listening, subscribing, all that good stuff. I'm sorry I nearly missed like 10 minutes or 15 minutes of content there, so I'm glad that I remembered and got all that working. But I hope you all had a lovely weekend. I hope you all have a lovely week ahead. For those of you who are celebrating tomorrow, like happy Independence Day in the US. I'm not sure if I'm going to be putting out an episode or not. I'll see how my day goes. I think I probably will, but don't hold me to that. And yeah, I'll see you all either tomorrow or on Wednesday. Bye.